Hi, my name is Lavinia. This is Peter. Welcome to Games Made Easy, a channel to learn board games quickly and easily. Today, I want to teach you and give you tips on how to play Scoundrels of Skullport, the expansion of Dungeons & Dragons Lords of Waterdeep. What I love in Scoundrels of Skullport is how with just one new dimension added, it adds so much more depth and strategy, and yet it stays true to the original game. I think it should always be played with this expansion. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. To play Scoundrels of Skullport, you will need the Lords of Waterdeep base game. Now, the expansion comes with 2 modules. So first I'm going to explain Undermountain, which adds some big quests that bring big rewards. Then I'm going to explain Skullport, which adds an exciting new resource, Corruption. And finally, I'll finish the video by explaining how you combine both in the long version of the game. Whichever version you use, the gameplay will remain the same as the base game. Players will send their agents to various locations in Waterdeep to recruit adventurers to fulfill quests for their secretive lords. Now, you win exactly the same way. The player with the most points and gold after 8 rounds wins the game. Now, let's look at some of the new components on Undermountain in more detail. This expansion comes in the same type of box as the base game. It adds 1 more player, the Grey Hands, so you can play the game with 6 players. You also have extra agents for long games, and these tokens here are worth 5 cubes. You have new lords, intrigues, buildings, quests, and new boards. For the Undermountain expansion, they all have the Beholder icon printed on them, like this. You place the Undermountain board near the main board. Now, it has 3 locations. Here, it's pretty cool as you can pick a face-up quest and play an intrigue in the same action. Here, you can either pick 1 cube of any color you want, or 1 fighter and 1 rogue. And here, you can pick 2 intrigue cards. There are also 3 new lords, which add a lot of flavor compared to those from the base game, which were mostly similar. Also, the buildings, the quests, and the intrigues add a lot of new dimensions. These 5 buildings allow players to either pick or play intrigue cards. This one lets you trade a non-mandatory quest for 3 cubes. And these allow players to not just collect cubes, but also place cubes or money on other locations. These intrigue cards also let you collect cubes or money and place more on other locations. It's really cool as you can make some areas like your own buildings more appealing than others. These 3 let you attack an opponent and steal cubes from their tavern. Now, these 3 are cool attacks too. You can either take money and the starter token with this one, or replace a building or an agent with one of yours with this one and that one. These 5 are nicer. They let you give opponents cubes or money to score victory points. These 4 give more intrigue cards, and these 3 mandatory quests reward you with 1 intrigue card. This one lets you place a new building and get money, while this one allows you to cancel all your mandatory quests if you reveal your lord. If you do that, you will be immune to attack and the mandatory quest cards. It is very powerful. Now, another great addition to the Undermountain module is the new quest cards, especially the 40-point quests. There are 5 of those, 1 for each quest type. Like when you explore Undermountain itself, you risk more, but the rewards can be huge. 40 points in Lords of Waterdeep is a lot. There's also 10 plot quests, 2 for each quest type, 1 standard bonus one, and another that adds a lot of flavor. If you can combine them, they can be very powerful. You also have 4 quests that have double levels of rewards depending on the adventurers you use to complete them. The remaining quests tend to not provide that many points, but instead give either a lot of cubes, intrigue cards, buildings, quests, money, or even let you return agents to your pool. Finally, you have this one that's quite expensive, but where you could swap orange and black cubes for loads of white and purple. So while Undermountain is quite a straightforward higher level D&D, Skullport, also known as the Port of Shadow, is a city of thieves and dodgy characters. It is nestled in the heart of Undermountain. Here you can make fortunes, but risk being corrupted. If you're not careful, it can penalize you at the end of the game. All the components of the Skullport module are marked with this blue icon here. But the first thing you'll notice in these new components are these beautiful blue skulls and this new corruption trackboard. You gain corruption on action spaces, buildings, quests, or intrigue cards. You keep it in your tavern, but unlike adventurers or gold, corruption counts as negative victory points at the end of the game. How many negative points depends on how much total corruption has spread through Waterdeep. To keep count, you use the corruption track. At the beginning of the game, fill up the board by placing 1 token on the -1 space and 3 tokens on all the other spaces. When you take corruption, you pick it up from the space closest to the -1 space that still has tokens on. Some buildings and cards let you return corruption. You place it on the space farthest from the -1 space that does not yet have 3 tokens. Sometimes a card lets you remove corruption completely. Instead of returning it to the corruption track, place it back in the box. This means that in this case, the corruption will never go back to -1. Now, the other components will add to the base game and will work like in Undermountain module. Now, for the Skullport module, you place it near the main board and it has 3 locations. They're all really powerful, but of course give you corruption too. Here you get 2 warriors and 2 rogues for 1 corruption. And here you get a bit of everything for 1 corruption. And here you can recruit 2 adventurers of your choice, also for 1 corruption. There's also 3 new lords that add a lot of flavor, most noticeably Xanatar the Beholder. That is the only element in the game that lets you turn corruption into positive points. Now, let's look at some of the buildings, quests, and intrigue cards. Most of them relate to corruption. The buildings mostly give you great benefits while giving you more corruption, like these 7. 3 buildings let you return corruption. 1 of them completely removes 2 corruption from the game, and 1 sneaky one moves corruption from your tavern back into action spaces. The intrigue cards are also quite focused on corruption. These 6 let you return corruption to the track, and these 2 let you remove them from the game. With these 5, you can gain adventurers or gold and also invite other players to do the same. With these 2, you place corruption on action spaces. With that one, you can score 6 points for each opponent who has more corruption than you. Most of the 6 attack cards are also linked to corruption. The mandatory quests are quite tamed in comparison, with only 1 linked to corruption. That one lets you return 2 corruption. As mandatory quests go, it's pretty cool. Now, another great thing about Skullport is the new quests. There's 10 plot quests, 2 for each quest type. They're all quite different and not that expensive. 1 is fairly standard, but 6 of them will let you double what you collect in some location if you also pick up some corruption. 2 let you return or remove corruption, and the last one gives you intrigues when you gain corruption. Of the other quests, only 4 have nothing to do with corruption. 6 will give you corruption, sometimes quite a lot of it, while 9 let you return corruption, and 1 will let you remove 3 corruption from the game. To set up each module, just mix all the components of the module with the base game. Now, you can play them separately, but I think the game is a lot better when you play both modules together. If you do, you need to remove 25 intrigue cards, 30 quest cards, and 12 buildings from the base game. Shuffle together all the remaining components and place all 3 module boards within easy reach of all players. The final points are added, like in the base game, minus the negative victory points from the corruption. Each corruption token you have in your tavern is worth the number in the empty space farthest from the -1 space on the corruption track. Now in this case, it would be a -3. Now let me give you some of my tips to win at Lords of Waterdeep, Scoundrels of Skullport. Start by watching my video on Lords of Waterdeep. All the tips I give there will apply to this expansion. If you manage to combine your plot quests with your Lord's objectives, then you can become unstoppable. It's true in many games, but maybe more so in this one. If you get ahead too early, you risk becoming a target of attacks and being the recipient of those pesky mandatory quests. The advantages of corruption early on in the game can be very powerful, and don't hesitate to take corruption until mid-game. Just make sure you've got a plan on how to get rid of it before the end of the game. It's always good to do quests that are linked to your lord, but if you see a quest with 40 points and you can fulfill it quickly, make sure to grab it. There's a nice logic in the game where the quest types match the color of the adventurers. For instance, the warfare quests are orange and they require fighters which are also orange. So that's how you play Lords of Waterdeep, Scoundrels of Skullport. It is a beautiful expansion, and I think it makes the game even better without making it more complicated. I really think it's the way the game should be played. If you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, or leave in the comments a game you would like me to teach. I will make more games easy soon. Bye now.